Here is a quick introduction to the Desdemona sisters, Ophelia and Beatrice, and exactly what it is that they represent in their respective stories. So first there's Ophelia. She's this young adult character. She just freshly out of college. She doesn't really know what to do with her life, and she's kind of just like seemingly angry all the time. But everyone's nice to her, and it's strange, right? If you play your cards right throughout the story, you do learn that her sister recently passed away. And so they're trying to give her grace, but she's really just like not receptive of it. She kind of is just like angry, and she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know how to accept like love, basically. And if you listen to her, if you pay attention early in the story, later in the story, it switches perspective. And based off how you treated her before is how your player character will treat her later when you are looking at the story through her perspective. And you get to see her internal monologue, what she wants to say versus what she says, what she thinks about everything, how she thinks about everything. She desperately does not want to be alone, but she doesn't know how to talk to people. And eventually, near the end of the story, she has this moment where she opens up and she essentially breaks because she can't hold anything in any longer. And it just all spills over. And depending on what happens at the beginning of the story, either it's this heartwarming, comforting moment where all of her friends are there to support her, or it can just be a moment where she's just like sobbing to these people who like she doesn't even know anymore, who are supposed to be her friends, but she pushed them away and they didn't try to like, you know, see what was behind the person who they know, reach out to her. And then we have Beatrice. Beatrice is like a high school student. She is sweet, she is kind, she's beautiful. She's constantly surrounded by people, and it kind of gives her this like separation of like, you can't really talk to her, sort of, because she just seems kind of busy all the time. But truly, people like they know her, but they're never really like actually friends with her. Everybody likes her, but she doesn't have anyone. People go to her when they need help, but they don't know her and they aren't around afterwards. And so whenever Beatrice herself is going through something, she doesn't have anyone to reach out to because the only time anyone ever talks to her is when they need help. Being around people who are just like need help all the time kind of put her in this mindset that everyone's like always super close to like breaking all the time, the way that she is. She's like pushing what she is onto other people, thinking that everyone's like one conversation, one thing away from like a mental breakdown and like being institutionalized or something like that. She like knows so many people's secrets that like she feels like she could say one wrong thing and she could ruin someone's entire life. And not only that, she also has this like fear of being a burden or clingy towards someone. And so when something happens with her like only friend, Lucia, she has no one to turn with and she is completely and utterly alone. Beatrice also has this moment where she breaks down, except for by the time she has broken down, it has been too long and she just can't take it anymore. She can't do anything anymore. She's just completely over it, and by the end of the story, she is dead. And because of the fact that this happens before Ophelia's story, she's kind of doomed, and there's like nothing you can do because the character the MC of the story is dealing with completely other separate things. There's options and points where you can be with her, but there isn't like a saving her. And in isolation, the message of the story seems to be like some people can't be saved, and that is definitely not what I'm trying to say. The message of this story, because it is, you know, these two stories together, the message is that there is never a point where someone is beyond saving, because this story is not in isolation. It is in context of Ophelia's story. It is kind of a background. Ophelia comes afterwards, and she is going through a somewhat similar thing where she's pushing everyone away, except she is a lot more aggressive and ruder and in one way that you can say it is worse. It is a lot harder to like reach out to her than it would have been to Beatrice if someone had just tried. And Ophelia can be saved. She is, in comparison to Beatrice, no one's a perfect person, but in comparison to Beatrice, a much worse, quote unquote, a much worse person, right? But like, she's not a bad person. Neither of them are bad people. And just if you pay attention to people who love and care for you and who you love and care for, you might see something else. And I always think that is sometimes like overplayed, and that's why Beatrice is a person who gives too much, because it's supposed to outweigh, you know, the overlying message of, you know, you should pay attention to people, because she always pays attention to people and she never pays attention to herself and she never loves herself. And it's supposed to be kind of this like nuanced message. Never take something too far. Any quality that anyone can have can be too much of it. And that doesn't make you a bad person. I don't think that any of my characters, like no matter what they do, are bad people. Anyways, that was everything I wanted to say in this video. Again, thank you so much for 500 subscribers. Anyways, if you've made it this far, just like, which I find unlikely that anyone's made it this far, but if someone has, let me know by leaving, I guess, a flower emoji. Also, because engagement reasons. You don't need to say anything, it's just, it will help. I also get to know if like someone actually genuinely watched my long freaking ramble about my stupid characters. Anyways, bye! Or, depending on how I feel after this, I might make more videos about like some other characters in these stories, because Ophelia and Beatrice are just background characters, and while they are kind of the most important characters for their like part of their story's message, Beatrice really isn't like a main character.